and welcome to Commanding on a Budget. Today's budget pick is Beguiler of Wills. This mythic is less than $1 and allows you to permanently gain control of a creature. If you're playing any deck that has a few creatures, this lady will steal something for you every turn. Today we'll be taking a look at a $60 Talrand Sky Summoner deck submitted by CabalMinion. Talrand is a flexible commander that allows for a range of builds along the spectrum of aggro and control. Cantrip Talrand runs a ton of cheap draw power to generate drakes as quickly as possible. Control Talrand aims for a much slower win with lots of counterspells, and there are tempo-based versions that rely more on bounce spells. This version leans toward control and tends to be more stable than the faster builds. The basic idea is to play Talrand around turn 5 through 7 so you can easily back him up with a counterspell to protect against removal. From there, you play counterspells, slow down your opponents, and control the game while your commander provides you with a steady stream of 2/2 flyers. At some point, you'll hit a critical mass of drakes and the deck's strategy switches to token beatdown. Artifact Acceleration can help you cast your commander faster, and later in the game it will give you the mana you need to continue to develop your board while keeping counterspells up. Wayfarer's Bauble, Silver Mirror, Mind Stone, and Sky Diamond all accelerate you a turn. Everflowing Chalice. You'll usually cast it for 2 to 4 mana, skipping you 1 or 2 turns ahead on your mana development. Spectral Searchlight. A mana rock that doubles as a political tool for gaining favors in exchange for mana. Darksteel Ingot accelerates you and survives most artifact removal. Worn Power Stone provides 2 turns worth of acceleration for only 3 mana. This deck plays a wide range of counterspells in order to generate drakes and protect Talrand. Mana Leak. Even though it can be a dead draw in the late game, it's a powerful early game counterspell that most people won't think to play around. Essence Scatter. Another slightly narrow but efficient counterspell. Logic Knot. Your graveyard should be stacked full of spells to exile, so you shouldn't have to pump too much mana into it. Counterspell. The original COUNTERMAGIC and still one of the best. Dissolve. A strictly better cancel that helps smooth out your draws. Dismiss. Provides sweet card advantage by countering a spell and replacing itself. Muddle the Mixture. A counterspell and a tutor rolled into one. Fairy Trickery and Dissipate. These 2 cards are great counters that offer some additional utility against graveyard-based decks. Forbid. An engine for exchanging dead cards and excess lands for counterspells. Rewind. Who can say no to a free counterspell? Foil. Most of the time you'll be casting it for 4, but it's nice to have the option to tap out and still have a counterspell up. Discombobulate. Offers some additional information and library manipulation. Last Word. The best spell you can have in a counter war against another blue deck. Overwhelming Intellect. 6 mana is pretty expensive, but so are the creatures you're likely to counter in Commander. Time Stop. Much more than just a counterspell. Counters ability, stops attacks, and potentially grants you an extra turn. Most of the draw spells in this deck are instants, so that you are able to hold up counterspells for as long as possible, and so you can surprise your opponents with instant speed drakes. Bident of Thassa creates a very powerful feedback loop. With this and Talrand on the field, your drakes will get you cards when they connect, which will get you more spells to cast, which will trigger Talrand and get more drakes. Brainstorm. Cheap card selection at instant speed. Telling Time and Impulse are more cheap sources of card selection. Peer Through Depths. It's like Impulse but limited only to instants and sorceries, but considering there are nearly 40 in the deck, that's not much of a restriction. Compulsive Research. Great filtering spell that can get rid of excess lands. Rhystic Study. It's a win-win. Either it slows your opponents down, or you draw a huge amount of cards. Fact or Fiction. The headache button. Whatever piles your opponents decide to make, you'll probably get whatever it is you need. Inspiration. Draw 2 at instant speed. Simple and easy. Tidings offers an excellent ratio of mana spent to cards drawn. Gush. Free card draw that can potentially net mana if you haven't played a land yet. Opportunity. Tidings is great. Instant speed Tidings is awesome. Blue Sun Zenith. Once you start heading into the late game, this will draw an absurd amount of cards. Crystal Ball. A little bit of library manipulation to make sure you find what you need at all stages of the game. Sadly, you can't counter every threat that hits the board, so you need to be able to deal with them in other ways. Pongify and rapid hybridization. Creature removal is pretty rare in blue. Ovenize, another great removal spell in a color that almost never gets them. Echoing Truth gives you a second chance at countering a major threat and occasionally hoses token decks. Cyclonic Rift offers an unparalleled swing in tempo. Aetherize, a great defensive spell that will quickly teach your opponents to think twice about attacking you. Wash Out, another solid mass bounce spell that will allow you to handle your most dangerous opponent without making a bunch of enemies. Energy Flux. This card offers the next best thing to artifact removal, taxing mana rocks and utility artifacts until the cost to keep them outweighs the benefit. Nevinral's Disc. Sometimes you just need to blow up the board. Oblivion Stone. Much like Nevinral's Disc, it can simplify a clogged board, but it has the added ability to spare your most important permanents before it pops. Fabricate makes it easier to find your Nevinral's Disc and Oblivion Stone if you're having trouble controlling the board. Frozen Aether slows down your opponents and makes it more difficult for them to put up defenses against your horde of drakes. Colossal Whale. A rare source of repeatable removal in blue, keeping your opponent's creatures locked out of the game until they can find a way to kill it. Pithing Needle and Tormod's Crypt. These two are a little bit narrow, but both can be tutored up by Trinket Mage and can shut down a powerful strategy if played at the right moment. Trinket Mage, a great toolbox enabler. Stormtide Leviathan, a big beater that can shut down many of your opponent's attackers without affecting the offensive power of your drakes. Normally an army of 2/2 drakes will win the game, but sometimes you'll need bigger beaters, so you might as well just steal those from your opponents. Clone. Even though it's no longer able to remove commanders, it's still a great card that gives you access to powerful creatures outside your colors. Persuasion. The only thing more awkward than seeing your commander stuck on the other side of the table is being forced to spend a kill spell on it. Gather Specimens. Most of the time, it's a desertion, but occasionally you'll get to cast it in response to a storm herd or an army of the damned. Dominate. Instant speed grants this effect a ton of extra power. It's very easy to catch your opponents with their pants down when you can steal a blocker in the middle of combat, or at the end of turn, or in response to a big spell. Confiscate. Feeling jealous of your friend's expensive cards? This can help you out. Telemann Performance. Another way to gain access to creatures outside your colors. It's a bit of a gamble, but it can be a lot of fun. Just be careful about using it against decks with lots of graveyard recursion. Switcheroo. Thanks to Talrand, you're always going to have something to give away, and unlike Persuasion or Confiscate, this effect is immune to enchantment removal. Diluvian Primordial. Always exciting to cast. He usually hits card draw, tutors, or board wipes, but occasionally you'll hit something really spicy like a Time Stretch or a Rise of the Dark Realms. And the deck's lands. Reliquary Tower and 34 Islands. Now for the non-budget acquisitions. Several of these are cards that CabalMinion has picked up for his Talrand that were just a little too expensive to be budget. Grim Monolith means you can cast even your more expensive counters early in the game. Aetherling. This guy evades removal, wraths, and just about everything your opponents can throw at him as long as you have open mana, making him the perfect threat for this deck. Cryptic Command. A big flashy spell with so much versatility. Vidalcan Shackles. Considering this deck only plays one non-basic land, this will be able to steal even the biggest creatures. Mystical Tutor can find just about anything in your deck. Desertion, Spelljack, Bribery, and Blatant Thievery help you take the best threats your opponents have to offer. Now for the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. The deck's strengths. It can counter key spells in combo decks. 2/2 Flying Drakes make for excellent blockers. This deck can out-tempo most mid-range decks, and it can counter powerful Voltron commanders. The deck's weaknesses. Aggressive decks can be an issue for this deck because you won't play many creatures early on. Sometimes your opponents will play more must-answer cards than you can counter. If Talrand is tucked, this deck has very few creatures with which to block. You should play this deck if you like to play control. You prefer to win through careful play rather than individually powerful cards. You like tokens but don't want the typical aggro deck. You hate having to play things at sorcery speed. While playing Talrand, you have to make crucial decisions every turn about which spells are worth countering, and just a few mistakes can cost you your ability to win. So if you like big creatures, a more laid-back style of play, or you like to win quickly, then this probably is not the right deck for you. But if you think the average commander deck plays way too many creatures, then Talrand is your guy. What's your favorite way to play Control and Commander? Let me know in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.